Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd Pianin, with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Exposed. I'm Daniel Beer, the Daniel Beer Group at Windermere, and I'm thrilled to be here with you and with Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. What's going on, Todd?
Not much, my brother. How are you?
It's great. Just another great week. Another deal closed with Home Street Bank with our team, and we love what you're doing. We appreciate you, Todd, and your partner, Taisha. And we also have in studio here Joe McShane of the Daniel Beer Group. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Hey, everybody. Just happy to be here hanging out with Todd and Dan for another week.
We appreciate you here, Joe. And I mean, that deal, Dan, we closed in 10 business days. Did you realize that a big bank had that for, 75 days or something like that?
One of the big banks had it for about 75 days. Finally, they end up not pulling through, not doing what they said they were going to do, not following through on their pre-approval letter that they'd issued that buyer. But thankfully, we were able to have that buyer turn the file around to you. We were able to have the seller cooperate and allow us time to just a 1 week extension to be able to get that in your lap. And lo and behold, you did close it 10 business days. Pretty darn cool, man. I honestly don't actually know how you guys are doing it in the current lending environment, which is just so cumbersome. So many lenders, especially the big banks, just having trouble navigating the new regulations that have been in effect since October of this past year. And you guys seem to be running through it like a breeze. I'm telling you, if you're thinking about buying a property or you're refinancing or doing anything it is that requires a home loan, I get it. You might have somebody that you're working with. It might be your cousin or your uncle or just the bank you've been used to for so many years. But you're not going to miss out on anything by not getting a second opinion and a look from Todd Pianin and his team at Home Street Bank. Here are the two ways it could play out. One, they provide you a better rate or a better service or a better, you just have a better product or, something that's not available from the current lender you're considering, in which case, great, you have a win. And worst case scenario, which is still a best case or a very good case, you get that look from Home Street and from Todd and his team, and you say, hey, thanks, guys, but I'm still moving forward with the other because it validates that you already do have a good deal,
right? Which
you're not going to know until you get that second opinion. So
I'm blushing right now because thank you for the kudos. We appreciate it, but we've been navigating the process pretty well. We were pretty prepared for the TRID taking effect in October, and we just want to make sure that all clients are taken care of. And we've had no problem when, you've got your clients cross-qualifying with us and telling them that they have a good deal someplace else. We have no problem telling them that because we want what's best for the client.
That's the most amazing thing is you actually have seen to do that time and time again. You'll tell the borrower, you'll say, move forward with what you have.
Correct. Or we'll tell the borrower, we're concerned about timing. If you want to get into the house on time, then apply with us and continuing applying with the big bank or wherever you're at, and then let's just make sure you can get into the house. I mean, it's we've done that for you time and time again as well.
Absolutely. Now, there's something actually that I'm really excited about that's happening locally here in San Diego. With all of the with all the mess that is the NFL and the Chargers and leaving or staying and this and Kroenke and Carson and Inglewood and the maybe we will and the maybe we won't.
Right.
Something really nice happened. The San Diego Symphony was unanimously approved on Tuesday to move forward with a $25 million, 10,000-seat waterfront concert venue right on San Diego Bay.
That's awesome.
I think that is just
awesome.
That's a nice win for the city.
That's a great win for the city.
Especially as we're in the midst of all of this Charger mess, we're just wanting to say, you know what? We are a world-class city. In fact, we're America's finest city.
Right.
That's a nice win. That's the kind of thing that, you're visiting us from wherever it may be in the Midwest or the East Coast, and it's winter, and you're looking to get down to San Diego and get out of your weather and do something nice here. and you go to this symphony, I can imagine this being something that's going to stick with you, and that really is going to be just a really nice special treat that's going to elevate the quality of life here in the city.
Dan, I have a question for you, along those lines. Why do you think San Diego's become such a hidden jewel? I mean, if you look at like Newport Beach or you look at Los Angeles, I mean, property values have gone crazy in those neighborhoods. But I mean, what you can get for your dollars here in San Diego, versus those other, other cities. And if you think about Newport Beach, their airport's smaller than our airport, so you can get in and out. I mean,
it's hard to figure out. It's not something I'm complaining about because it benefits so many of our buyers and sellers, and just helps us keep some of our cash in our pocket for other investments. But it is interesting, as expensive as we, or at least most of the country would describe San Diego as being. If you're a San Diego homeowner, or specifically if you're looking to buy property in the county, you need to really, put into perspective what our values look like compared to other premier California coastal markets.
Right. What
we look like compared to, yes, even of course, the obvious ones like LA, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Malibu, up through San Francisco and the entire Bay Area, or most of the Bay Area, but even your Santa Barbaras, even your Monterey's,
right,
even your Carmels. I mean, it's pretty impressive. We are the most attractive and affordable California
market
destination market. That's right.
I'm doing a loan for somebody right now who's buying in Brentwood, California, which is Los Angeles. She's buying a 2-bedroom condo, a fixer condo for $900,000. I mean, for $900,000, if I had $900,000, Dan, I mean, your buyer's team could show me a gazillion homes in great neighborhoods and great school districts. I mean, it's just
you're not missing anything. You're exactly right.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
By the way, you are listening to Real Estate Exposed. We're right here on News Radio 600 KOGO. Daniel Beer and Todd Pian. And coming up in February 16th, 17th, and 18th, you're going to hear a lot about our home selling workshops. These are the same workshops that some of San Diego's biggest celebrities are talking about on their airwaves and on their shows. We're giving away free tickets. And these are the workshops where you literally walk out knowing how to sell a home better than your average agent, than your average licensed agent. And the reason why is that average agent in San Diego County, and I'm not describing it as average in terms of ability, but average in terms of actual numbers, actual production, actual experience. 3 to 4 homes a year is what the average agent in San Diego will sell. Yet, we all get advice from just about every agent we know, and we all tend to know just about too many agents.
Correct.
Well, at these home selling workshops, what you get is the actual blueprint, the process and the strategy, the psychology behind the process that my team employs day in and day out that last year produced 119 sales compared to the average 3 to 4. So it would literally take the average agent over 30 years to match the level of experience that we are going to share with you step by step so you can actually implement it at our home selling workshops. If you're thinking about selling your home in the next 12 months,
it's a must. It's a must go to. It's a
absolutely.
must.
Maybe you've already experienced the pain of an expired listing, so you already know what it's like to be on the market and fail, and you're feeling like, gosh, there must be a better way to sell a property than just slapping some photos online and waiting around.
Using your iPhone camera, you mean?
Yeah, we're gonna lay it all out for you. The phone number for those free tickets is 800-676-2420. Again, I'll say this slowly. Grab your pen. Grab your paper, give us a phone call. We'll send your free tickets out to you. 800-676-2420. And so coming back to this.
And also make sure when you call that number, you got if they want to be part of the
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a drawing. Everybody's talking staging. What staging should we stage? What's the expense? How should we do it? We're actually going to put you in the drawing for a free staging package because you're an iHeartMedia and a KOGO listener. So all you have to do is share the code word LION. Say LION when you call in. We'll mark that down. We'll put you in the drawing, and that's going to be really great.
I'm super excited for that. I mean,
it's going to be the best.
I mean, it's the seminars.
We love doing it.
We love doing it, and we love sharing the information and the response we get.
And personally, I love being there with you. It's really nice being there with our listeners. So, shifting into something a little bit different.
Yep.
We don't tend to talk a lot about renting and what it takes to rent and being a landlord and the issues involved with it. We don't tend to talk a lot about that on the show. But reality is that we do have a lot of clients out there that are looking to purchase investment property and rental property.
Right.
And so here in studio, we have Joe McShane from the Daniel Beer Group. Joe comes from a background of managing several hundred rental units. And so Joe is an expert property manager. And he shared with me something. We were at a client's house very recently. It's just, it's a home where they'd rented the home out for a year, and there was some damage from a dog and from all kinds of other things, and there was a pet deposit.
Right.
I started saying, well, great, we have a pet deposit that we can work with. Joe jumped in and shared some information with me that I'd never heard. I thought it was incredibly enlightening, and I want to share it with you, the listener.
Let's hear it, Joe.
Walk us through that.
Absolutely. I think, as you look at your investment properties, where you're renting them out, you're exposed to a lot of things. And what I quickly learned within that industry is whatever you are exposed to when you're renting out a property that you purchased, you always have to think, and I know that this may sound scary, but this is just the way that I looked at it. I was a VP of a property management company, and every decision that I made with a resident was with the thought of, if I was to go to court, what would this look like? If I was to go to court, what would this look like?
So I want to leave you with that thought. If I was to go to court, I am a landlord, or I'm a soon-to-be landlord. If I was going to have to get into, and if I'm going to rent the property, and I'm going to do that as prudently as possible, I want to have Joe's mindset. If I were to go to court, then how am I best protected? Because, frankly, there are a lot of tenant issues, and you need to be aware of them. Joe's going to enlighten us on the way back here. This is Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO, and that line again for your free home selling workshop tickets is 800-676-2420. Welcome back to Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. I'm Daniel Beer, Windermere Homes and Estates, the Daniel Beer Group.
Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank, and we've got Joe McShane in the house from the Daniel Beer Group, who's going to tell us a story about pet deposits and what happened. And super excited to hear this because a lot of our listeners are really getting into like the investment property game right now.
As they should.
Because it's a great way for getting passive streams of income. So with all your experience, I mean, give us this little story that I've been waiting to hear.
Absolutely. So I learned the hard way early on when I took someone came to rented a property and they had a dog. And pets are a great way to create a residual income because you can charge a pet rent, and that looks great.
A pet rent or a pet deposit?
Well, pet rent and a pet deposit.
Yeah, I never heard of a pet rent until like 2 days ago. Joe and I were at a property.
Nice.
And he mentioned pet rent.
So I never heard of that.
There's just a lot of interesting things he brought up here.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's going to help your property. It's going to have a higher value if you show that you're bringing in more income.
Right.
So somebody comes...
Interrupting very quickly, it was funny how you brought that up because as we were walking out of a property, we were trying to assess it for how much it would rent for. And Joe says, well, if somebody were to buy it and they were to rent it out, hopefully the tenant would have a dog. I said, what do you mean? Hopefully the tenant has a dog? Like, normally we don't want them to have a dog.
Right.
He said, yeah, well, we'll charge a pet rent.
That's awesome.
I just thought it was interesting.
That's awesome. Okay, go for it, Joe.
Absolutely. So I rent to somebody, they have a dog, and over the course of a year, this dog destroys the carpet.
Okay.
And, I get the property turned back over to me. I have possession. I'm doing everything I need to do to document it. I have a professional lift the carpet up, and we can see that there has been accidents on the carpet that has rendered the carpet completely useless, and it has to be thrown out. We replace it. It costs us about $500. And I decide that I had 2 deposits from that person. Now, this is important, and this is a practice that I used. If you're going to move into a place, and we'll use a simple example, rent's $1,000, the standard deposit is $1,000, and your pet deposit is going to be half that. So essentially, when you move in, you pay $1,000 for your first month's rent,
right?
$1,000 for your standard deposit, and $500 for your pet deposit.
Okay.
So I've got $1,500 sitting in
a trust account.
In a trust account, exactly. So I replaced the carpet. It comes up to, actually, I think it was about $400 and some dollars, and I document exactly what happened and exactly why I did it, and this person ends up taking us to small claims court. Now, small claims court, you cannot have representation of a lawyer. You can have a lawyer maybe advise you, but I couldn't have my attorney sitting next to me in small claims court. And the judge rules based on this person's explanation that it was while they were training their son how to use the bathroom. And there was no way that I would be able to prove that it was the pet or it was something else. But that replacement of that carpet came directly out of my company's pocket because I could not prove whether it was the pet or not. So
yeah, but they still destroyed the carpet, though, right?
They still did destroy the carpet, but since I recorded it as a pet deposit, and all of the examples that I had in court as to why it should be deducted because of their pet
was all pet related.
Was all null and void because I said it was the pet.
And they said it was the kid.
Yep. And if you do ever go to small claims court, the judge will always side with the resident before they side with the landlord. It's just the way that it works when you go in there. So you have to be very well documented. And here is the biggest tip of example for you guys listening out there. I never took a pet deposit again after that. So going back to that example where you've got your first month's rent that's $1,000,
right?
And I want $1,500 in a deposit or whatever your amount is. You can go up to 2.5 times
the first month's rent.
First month's rent by law.
Okay.
So if you had a pet, and we'll just use that same example, I take a $1,500 deposit, and then regardless of what happens, you destroyed the carpet. Boom! It just comes out of your deposit. I never use the word pet deposit.
That's awesome. That's
a
great tip.
I always use the word pet rent.
Oh, okay. So explain that to me real quick.
So pet rent. So we'll take, for example, Todd, you're renting one of my investment properties, right? We'll use the same formula we were using before, $1,000 worth of rent.
Right.
You come in and you have Roxy, your beautiful little schnauzer, right? You love her to death, and you need an apartment that takes a dog.
Right.
Sounds like Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm super happy to have your dog here. This is how it's going to work out.
Wouldn't be Roxy. It would be probably a name from Star Wars, but nice try.
There you go. Right. So we've got Leia then, we'll say.
Right.
Right. So Leia the Schnauzer. So you come in and you rent this property from me. I say, Todd, I'm so happy to have you and Leia here. Here's how it looks. Since you do have a pet, I do pet rent. I don't have a pet deposit, Todd.
But you can charge pet. What percent of your rent can you charge pet rent?
I usually go with. There's no hard and fast percentage. You could put yourself completely out of the marketplace and say, I charge $200, $400 a month for pet rent. No one's going to pay that. They can go to somebody else. $50 is a great number to hit. You could try to push it up to 75 or 100, but the market for the most part with the large property management firms is around $50.
So is that something you came up with on your own, or a lot of the big property management companies will charge a pet rent?
A lot of people will say, we only charge a pet deposit. And I loved it when I heard that because I was like, well, all right, that's your problem to deal with.
Right.
I'm just charging pet rent. Now, your deposit is higher.
That's awesome, though.
But you're not hitting them with like a 1-2. So it feels like to the renter that they're really being heard and cared for, and they're not getting gouged because all they have to do is pay $50 a month in pet rent.
That's awesome. Well, I guess Leia, my dog, and I, we would be pretty. We could rent from you then because we could just have to pay pet rent.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant.
I thought that was awesome.
That's brilliant.
And the last tip is be sure when someone moves in with a pet, you take detailed pictures of what your investment property looks like before they rent it, because you're going to need before and after, whether you call it a pet deposit or a standard deposit. Document.
That's a huge tip for all of our investment property owners out there. I know that some of you don't like to use to rent property with people with pets for the reasons that Joe was just talking about. But pet rent, wow, Dan, that's a huge tip we just gave our listeners.
Something I had never heard in all my years, 11 years now, and I hadn't heard.
And we've got more tips coming because we've got the home seller seminars coming up that you guys are personally invited to by Dan and I, and Joe will be there too, so Joe will be able to answer some of these questions for you as well.
That's right. And if you're thinking about selling your home, you're going to want to be at those workshops. I'm going to give you 2 important things here for you. One is if you want free tickets, the number's 800-676-2420. But if you simply want to get an idea, what is my home value today? Where do I stand? How much equity do I have? I'm personally volunteering. To all of our KOGO listeners, all of the listeners here we have on Real Estate Exposed, if you go to valuesinsandiego.com, This is a website we just set up for you, valuesinsandiego.com. Just type in your information. You can get a valuation from me.
That's awesome.
As far as what your home would be likely to sell for, what your neighbors have sold for, what the recent sales look like, what those that expired and failed look like. That's my gift to you. Valuesinsandiego.com. We're coming right back. Welcome back. It's Real Estate Exposed with Daniel Beer, the Daniel Beer Group. We are the top producing team for Windermere Homes and Estates all across the county and all of Southern California. And I am here with Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. He leads a great branch over at Home Street. Todd Pianin in studio here. What's going on? We're ready to go for the third segment.
I know. I'm excited. I want to go back to this valuessandiego.com, Dan.
No, valuesinsandiego.com. That's where you can get a personalized valuation of your property directly from me by putting in some very basic information.
So valuesinsandiego.com?
Correct. Valuesinsandiego.com.
So if I put information in, do I get it like automatically, or does
No,
it go
it doesn't come to you immediately because that wouldn't have been actually created for you.
Right. Got
You'll
it.
get it an hour or so later.
Right.
But it's very simple. You just go to valuesinsandiego.com. If
Right.
you want to know what your property's worth, maybe you're trying to figure out, you're going to sell the home, maybe you're looking to refinance, whatever it is you're looking for, and you need to figure out how much equity you have in your property,
Right.
and really, the tool, what it really helps you with is how are you positioned relative to everyone around you with like and similar properties, and we'll actually show you those properties. We'll create a report special for you. You just put in your address, some very basic information, an email where we can send that report back to you, and that's my free gift to you, valuesinsandiego.com.
I love it. I mean, I think it's awesome that you're again, another example of the Daniel Beer Group giving back and not expecting anything in return, like our home seller seminar. A couple other things I want to bring our listeners up to date on. Our Facebook page has been blowing up, Dan, and we got approved by Apple. We are now a podcast on iTunes. So what we'd really appreciate from our listeners, if you could go to iTunes and sign up for subscribe to the podcast and rate and review us, because we want to move up the chain and get some of this information out there. I think that would be
cool.
Very helpful.
Very cool. Very, very, very cool. And so it's just great to be able to reach more of you and more conveniently wherever you may be, and you can listen to that podcast on iTunes. Todd, the home selling workshops are coming up.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
The environment has been changing. And one of the things somebody has asked us very recently is, they'd already attended a workshop, but they attended our workshop back last August.
Our first ones.
And they're thinking, should I attend again because I haven't yet put my house on the market? And, is there anything different that should now be done in today's selling environment versus the one we had in August?
Right.
And the answer is absolutely yes. There will be new information, and there's some critical things that have changed that we need to make sure we're incorporating into the analysis of what the best strategy looks like. Primarily, two things. One is you have the rate hikes, okay?
Right.
The interest rate hikes that the Fed put through
very
recently.
The one they put through and the four they're saying they're going to put through this year.
Exactly. The one they already put through and the threat of the next four.
Right.
So how do we use that to your advantage to create opportunity for you in today's environment, and how does that change the marketing and technique and the strategy that should be implemented?
Right.
Secondly, we're also in a different time of year. We're when we're talking about the February timeframe, it's winter. What does that winter selling season look like? And actually, how is it that it's actually incredibly advantageous to you if you understand its dynamics versus lumping yourself in with all the other sellers that are coming in the spring and summer?
So I have a question, Dan, though. We're talking about the home seller seminar, but also, are we going to talk about how the buyer pool has changed? I mean, even though we have lower inventory in the marketplace, what's been really weird lately from our side is that buyers have been offering on properties, but then they've been stopping at a number.
Exactly.
It's like it's not, even though there's less inventory, they're not playing into a seller's game, and they're being more specific on the properties they want.
So we need to understand that buyer profile. And that's everything that we're going to talk about at our workshop, of course, including the core of the strategy, which resulted in $101.8 million in sales for my team only this past year, let alone all those that implemented coming out of the workshops.
Right.
The free tickets, number for free tickets, if you're looking to come to our workshops, which, by the way, will take place on February 16th, 17th, and 18th this year. We're holding it 6 times, okay? So it's an hour out. It's anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, hour 15 minutes or so. And we're holding them at lunchtime and after work. and then different locations all over the county. So there's going to be one that's bound to fit you and your schedule and your location. The tickets are free, and the phone number is 800-676-2420. We're still early here in the process, so we still have space at all 3 locations. But last time around, we
ran out of space. That's what we want you also to use the word lion when you call in, because Dan is doing a drawing for potential free home staging.
Free home staging, and so you want to use that word lion. You want to call in, get your space, make sure make sure we have tickets available, not just for any of our locations or any of our times, but the one that's going to fit you,
right? And the
most
area
conveniently,
fit for you. Right.
The phone number is 800-676-2420. Again, that's 800-676-2420. And really the best message at this home selling workshop is, at the end of the day, we all get advice from agents from all over, even unsolicited advice.
From our friends and neighbors, too.
Yet, there's so little that goes into being a licensed agent, and I can say that because I am one. I went through very little to get licensed. However, I went through a lot to get to where I am. And when you're open to advice from just about anywhere and anybody, and you think you have an idea of how real estate's supposed to be sold and what's supposed to happen, the reality is you're looking at a model that's been ingrained into you by agents that, on average, sell 3 to 4 homes a year,
right,
and that went through very little in order to get their license, just like I did, by the way. And I used to go through that same process, so I can speak to it. The first 8 years or so of my career, that's exactly what I did. But I'm on my 11th year now, and what we've done is we've shifted into our process, our 5-day blitz. And the core of what happens in that 5-day blitz is essentially we're going to teach you in a step-by-step manner. We're going to teach you how to use buyer psychology in your favor in order to create a negotiating advantage. We're going to walk through what are those fix-ups that are most important that'll get you a big return. Okay, I call them easy wins versus those that you shouldn't be doing because that money's not coming back to you.
The best was, we have a mutual client that your team actually, you listed their house and they're in escrow on another house, and I'm having a conversation with the seller, and she didn't go to the home seller's workshop, but she's met with you several times. And you have her house on the market this weekend, and I said, "Oh, it'll be sold by Monday." She's like, "I don't believe it." I go, "Yeah, you'll get offers." She said, "I don't believe it." I go, "Trust me when I tell you, the system that Dan employs is amazing, and the results speak for themselves." And that's what I explained to her, and she's like, "Well, she just was blown away." She's like, "Okay."
But the only time we unveil every detail of that system
for free
is at our home selling workshops, where we share the information, which you can then choose to implement with who you want, how you want, anytime you want, and it has nothing to do, no contingency on using me or anything of the sort.
Or using me.
Look, exactly. Look, If I can earn a relationship with you, if we can earn a relationship with you, then great, we'd love to have it. But we understand that you may already have one you're comfortable with. Come to the workshop, get the information, learn how to implement it. And it's literally the only place that we go step by step on every last detail of the process. The phone number for those free tickets is 800-676-2420. Or if you're just trying to get a sense for what your current home value is, you can also go to valuesinsandiego.com. But the free tickets can be found at 800-676-2420. Again, how do you use buyer psychology in your favor? How do you create a frenzy? People like saying frenzy, yet they don't actually put a process in place that creates one. How do you know you got the most the market will bear? Here's a clue. You need to get the market there. You can't just have individual private viewings of your home just like everybody else is. There needs to be a process to find the market and then strategically funnel it all in together to where they're there to compete with one another versus with you.
We have so much fun at these workshops, and I love the fact that we give back to the community by giving them, because what you do and what we do at these workshops is, all we're saying is demand more. There should be more. You should expect more from the people you employ, and Dan's giving you the tools, the tricks. I give you some economic data. I tell you what's going on in the marketplace, that kind of fun stuff. But it's just all about demanding more, and we have fun. I mean, we get so pumped up after every one of these seminars. It's unbelievable.
Your tickets are waiting for you at 800-676-2420, 800-676-2420, or get a personalized home value from me visiting valuesinsandiego.com. And coming up next, we're going to address a common problem of those looking to buy, yet they have to sell. How do you get those two to line up and work in harmony with one another so that you can control both ends of that transaction? Welcome back to our fourth and final segment of another great Sunday here on Real Estate Exposed with Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin.
So happy to be here on this Sunday, and we got Joe McShane in the house as well, part of the Daniel Beer Group. You know, one of the things that we want to talk about, we missed before we go into buying, you know, the comment you made about
controlling both sides when you're trying to buy and sell. How do you control both sides of that transaction?
But what I want to bring up is also Joe's going to be at the home seller seminar, and he's going to be able to field and answer questions about, you know, investment properties and that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that if you are thinking about even buying in investment property or selling investment properties, Joe's going to also be there to answer some questions.
That's right. That's something that's really cool about the workshops is, aside from sharing all the information with you, there are title experts and mortgage experts, and there are buyer specialists, and Joe is a property management specialist and an expert, really. And so all of these players are there, can answer questions, and make sure that you're getting all the goods, okay? Like, we don't hold anything back.
No, we get it's all for free.
So it's all out there for you. We're going to give that number out one more time here before we jump into the all-important topic of when you're looking to buy a home, yet you have to sell a home, how do you line that up? How do you get those two to work together? How do you buy, yet you have to sell, and the money has to come from one place? And, you know, we're going to walk you through that and give you some pointers on things you want to bring up with your agent that you want to at least screen for to make sure your agent understands. But the phone number for those free tickets to the workshop is 800-676-2420, 800-676-2420, and
say the word LION.
LION is the code that if when you call in, you say LION, we'll actually enter you into a drawing for a free home staging package. It's awesome, and we're excited to be there for you.
So tell me, if I want to, you know, Dan, we've had multiple discussions about me personally trying to sell my home, you know, thinking about selling my home and buying a home, but I'm nervous because there's probably properties out there I want to buy, and I haven't sold my home yet. I mean, how do you manage that process?
Right. So this is a really important point for if you're thinking about buying a home, but you have to sell your home first. Okay, so the down payment for the purchase is going to come from the home that you're currently living in.
Right.
You really need to be very careful and very strategic and picky screening for the right agent when you're selecting who you're going to work with. Here's a few things you need to look for. First off, somebody that has extensive experience, both on the purchase side of the business and the listing side, the sale side of the business. You need somebody that's going to be able to, you know, that really understands both and can help you control both sides. Second.
What does that mean? I have to ask that question.
What does what mean? Control both sides?
Yeah, control both sides.
What it means is that you can't go out and, you know, put a property under contract just knowing you need your down payment coming from the sale of your home,
right,
just hoping you somehow sell it on time and somehow get it to work. You can't just put your home for sale, hoping you're just going to all of a sudden find a home that you're going to buy and, you know, just hope you don't end up homeless for a couple of weeks.
Right.
You have to have a process and strategy behind it. There are, frankly, just too many variables for us to go through every specific one.
Right.
But here's what you want to talk to your agent about. Here's what you want to screen for when you're interviewing an agent, and we'll give you those questions you want to ask.
Can I give you one point? I love it when I get calls from realtors and they say to me, can we not tell them they have to sell their house to buy?
They want to...
They want me to do a pre-approval letter based on the fact that they need their down payment is coming from their house, but they want to write an offer on a property and they don't they need their down payment sold, and they get these people in escrow, and then it's a bad situation.
So here's where you would want to start, and the kind of questions you'd want to ask. Number one, how many homes have you listed this year, and how many, or in the past 12 months, and how many have you worked with the buyer? Okay, you want to have, and hopefully they actually have specialists on their team that are handling each of those functions, but you want to understand that they have extensive experience on both sides of that of the business. Second, you want to ask them for examples, concrete examples on any leasebacks that they've been able to negotiate over the course of the last couple months. I'd say, Mr. Agent, thank you, and I'm considering using your services. Can you describe to me a recent leaseback that you were able to negotiate for your seller so that they'd be able to stay in the property during the course of time in which they were purchasing a home? And
great.
just so
That's
you
a great one.
Yeah,
absolutely. And the leaseback, just so you understand exactly what that is, essentially it's that you're selling your home, but when you sell the property, you actually get to stay in it for an extended period of time that's pre-negotiated, sometimes as much as 2-3 months. Finally, you want to ask for proof of any contingent offers that they've had accepted. This is the core, this is the base. There's a lot more to it. We'll walk through it all with you together. You can reach us at 800-676-2420. You can get your free home selling workshop tickets at that same number, 800-676-2420, or you can get your personalized home value by going to our new site that we've set up for you, valuesinsandiego.com.
Don't forget, I'm at Home Street Bank. We are a member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS ID number 304014. Also look for us on Facebook, Real Estate Exposed, and now we're on iTunes as a podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast and write reviews. Looking forward to next week.
The Daniel Beer Group sends you our best.